Okay, yeah, right. And in our discussion today, we will see how cognitive linguistics and modern language teaching can share, support each other. Um, Before we go further, I have already opened the next topic, cognitive grammar, for you to look at. If you have time and you're interested in cognitive grammar, please go ahead. But this is optional, as I have mentioned. For the next 4 weeks, we'll have 2 more webinars. Because, and when I come back, we'll have the on-site test in this computer lab together with the final exam. Well, the due date for the final exam is set. Okay. So next week I will be in Israel, and I will email you about the time where we can meet online. To have webinars that are very similar to the semantic frames recording that you have seen. We will have one more webinar about conceptual planning and another seminar about the cognitive semantics in context. Those last 2 chapters in the textbook. Now, before we begin our lesson today, again, do you have any confusion? Okay. That's it better. So no questions? Good. Now, in this lesson, we will look at how cognitive linguistics and modern language teaching share grounds in their viewpoints about language learning, and then we look at some of the issues that can be problematic when we look at from traditional views of language, and how it can become a lot easier when we look at from cognitive linguistics. And after this, we will start looking at materials for the topic, because basically for most of your essays, you need to write about the implications of cognitive linguistics about the topic for language teaching, right? Now, so coming back to what we are discussing, there are 6 major themes that Lindstrom, Bird, and Bowers point out between cognitive linguistics and modern language teaching. Now, to begin with, in modern language teaching, it is now accepted that language is not autonomous and language is dependent on thinking. Language is, essential in. So without good language abilities, it's very hard for you to think clearly, right, and even fluently. So sometimes when you are in a meeting and you need to speak in a foreign language, it's hard for you to think as quickly as other people in the room who are speaking their mother tongue, simply because your language, competence is, hindering your ability to generate thoughts. And so a lot of people have to switch to their mother tongue and then try to translate those thoughts into the language that they want. But basically, without good language, ability, it's very hard for you to think sharply, quickly, and that's the point. We see this point echoes in the theories we have discussed so far in cognitive semantics, like the conceptual domain of Langacker, the semantic frames of Fillmore, idealized cognitive models of George Lakoff, and mental space for Sonier. Now, earlier in the class before this, I got questions from a student about how schema and conceptual domain are different. Because when you say like ideas are containers, then container is a conceptual domain, right? We have ideas are containers, then containers are the source domain, right? And at the same time, we also call it an image schema. Now, that's a good question, and that's so reflection. To begin with, conceptual domain, semantic frame, mental space, and ICMs, although they have different labels, different naming, basically they refer to the same knowledge structure in which you can have concrete, tangible elements that are tied to that structure. So when I say hospital, let's say a frame. If you have already watched my webinars in the system, hospitals, automatically you have elements that are tied to the frames of hospital, like doctors, nurses, patients, procedures, operation rooms, the ambulance, and all those things. So that's a knowledge structure. Conceptual domain, semantic frame, mental space, and ICM essentially refer to knowledge structure. Okay, so these different researchers use different names, different labels for the theory that they focus on, but essentially they refer to pretty much the same thing, even though there can be differences, but essentially they refer to the same thing. Another term that you may come up with when you do the reading is the script. Okay, the language script by Talmy. Now, conceptual domains are usually concepts, structure, knowledge structure at the top of our thinking, while image schemas are those that are usually abstract, and it lies very much at the bottom of our perception. So you can think it like this. You can think about it like this. The image schemas, scaffolds or supports our thinking. For example, when I say, in my opinion, this is a good topic. Now you are able to say, in my opinion, because of the support from your understanding of a container, even though you are not aware of that kind of support. Okay, so in one word, image schemas are abstract, but it's there in your thinking system because of your interaction with the world around you. It will be helpful if you look at the list of common image schemas like force, like direction, up, down, in, out, like container, like scale, like balance. Those are things that we gradually learn through our experience with the world. Now, so coming back to the point I am talking about, Uh, all of these theory, okay, discuss about how, okay, a concept can be, can be connected and interrelated with a lot of other concepts in a very complicated ways. So language, okay, as you see from these theories, is not something that exists on its own. It's not something that is already there in your mind when you are born. Okay, language is, okay, the result of building up spaces, building up conceptual domain, building up idealized cognitive models, and that process results from the interaction with the outside world around you. Now, leading to this, okay, there is another point. Language acquisition is an ongoing, continuous process resulting from our interaction with the surrounding environment. Um, Now, please tell me again the key theories or the key ideas that you have learned about language acquisitions in your ELT1. Now, do you remember any theories or any person? Language acquisition. How language is acquired, how language is learned. I have already told you once or twice. Now, Chomsky is, okay, a big name in, okay, language acquisitions. What does Chomsky say? Chomsky says children can learn languages so easily, so quickly, because they have already got a lot of things in their brain that wait for you to activate, okay, to stimulate, okay, black spots waiting for you to open. Right, that's Chomsky says, okay, with the universal grammar, okay. Um, what else? How about Krashen? What does Krashen says about language acquisition? In order for language acquisition to occur, in order for language learning to happen, the students need to get input. Okay. Yeah, input that is one level above their current level. So I plus one. Okay, input that is a little bit higher or beyond, higher than their current level. Um, so that is the input hypothesis among the 5 hypotheses Krashen suggests. Now, essentially, what does it mean? It means in order to learn a language, you need to interact, you need to get input, you need to be exposed, okay, to other speakers, okay. A lot of English teachers, after graduating from our department, they reach C1, and after teaching for a while, 5 or 10 years, their level go down steeply, and they fail. Yeah, they fail the proficiency test because they no longer get input. You see, they most of the time they do not speak English because their students do not understand anyway when they speak English too much, and they do not have to explain very complicated things that require them to make an effort to explain things. And they do not have time to, okay, get listening input, unless they are active and stuff. So gradually, the level going down, and that's why I say you must take the C1 level exam before you graduate, because that's when you peak. Okay, after graduating, you do not have time and you have very little input. While you are here, you get input every day from lectures, from readings, from your friends. Out of this environment, you get very little input. And you need input to maintain your level. Unless you have already got huge amount of input and your level become fossilized. When you reach a certain level, you become fossilized. It's unable for you to forget your language. And that's the case as a Vietnamese going to France, to Africa, to America, stay there for several decades, not speaking Vietnamese very much, but when they come back, they are still very comfortable with their mother tongue. Because why? Because when they go there, they are about 20 or 30, and their mother tongue has reached the fossilized level. Now, so coming back to what we are talking about, Krashen says that input is very important, and input here comes from the outside environment, right? It's different from the view of Chomsky. There is another person that is also discussed in the ELT1. Who is that? Vygotsky. Does the name ring a bell to you? Vygotsky. What is his nationality? Yeah, Russian. Vygotsky was influential during the beginning of the Soviet time, when collectivism was the top value in the societies, and Vygotsky says that in order for learning to happen, good learning to happen, you need to be in a group. You need to interact with other people in group. Group work is very important part of learning. And you learn by constructing knowledge, interacting with your peers, then deconstruct and then reconstruct. And that's the ideas of constructivism. Okay, and now when you read about modern pedagogy, modern teaching approaches, very often you read about constructivist teacher, constructivist learners, constructivist classroom. The core idea of a constructivist environment is having students collaborate with each other, work in group, and do project-based learning. So if you go to training, if you do readings about modern teaching, it's very much about constructivism. What do you call that in Vietnamese? Constructivist classroom. What do you call that in Vietnamese? Constructivist theory. Thuyết kiến tạo. Kiến tạo. Học kiến tạo. Right. And why Vygotsky, become, popular now? So he was, popular for some time, and then people just forget him for nearly 7 or 8 years, and now he's becoming popular again, because his ideas is the foundations for what we see today about using a lot of project-based learning, a lot of group work, pair work in learning activities. The key, strategy for teaching students nowadays is not to lecture, is not to transfer knowledge to them, is not to explain to them. Why? They only need to Google, and they have tons of videos that do a better job of explaining things, that do a much better job at giving them the materials that they want. Okay, what they need and the kinds of skills, like language skills, foreign language skills, technology skills, um, the the ability to work with other people, to interact with other people. So constructivist. Now, so I have just gone through three people. Okay, Chomsky, Krashen, and Vygotsky. Okay, who are discussed in your ELT1 on the topic of language acquisitions and learning. Now, in usage-based model, just a couple of weeks ago, we talked about language trains and language acquisitions from the theory of Tomasello. Okay, do you still remember how Tomasello accounts for language trains? How a word first came about and became diffused in a speech community. Now, the key point of what you have learned in LT1 is very similar to the ideas in cognitive linguistic views. Poor language input cannot lead to successful language acquisitions. In other, for good language learning to occur, the student need a lot of good inputs. And that's why the role of teacher is important. When you have a good teacher of English who can provide you a lot of good inputs, you learn much more efficiently. Okay? I hope it still rings a bell to you, to Marcellos, about the maxims of language trends. Now, this is another point. In cognitive grammar, if you have time to read ahead, in part 3, you will see Langecker see grammar as a system of symbolic units rather than having syntax and and semantic as being separate. Now, Langecker describe language structure or language rules as how units, how symbolic units can be combined together. Although this is contrary to the structural generative grammar that we are familiar with, it's a very good way to help us explain how idioms and collocations in language work. Because obviously, when I say, for example, kick the bucket, there is no way for us to get the meaning of that unit, that whole unit, from kick, from bucket. Okay. Or when I say, don't let grass grow under your feet, then there is no way you can understand the meaning from grass, from feet, from grow. Okay. But from the viewpoint of symbolic units, you can see, okay, these are the meaning that are put together. So cognitive grammar can help the language teachers to teach idioms, collocate what we call composite language expressions more effectively. Now, in language teaching, we are advised to build knowledge for students. Take the language, okay, is one part. Another important part is to give the student background knowledge. Okay, because if they do not, okay, have the knowledge, um, they cannot understand the text, and they cannot produce the word expression that we provide for them too. So teaching the language is always coupled uh, with giving them understanding, giving them background knowledge. We should have learners to build language competence and understand the culture behind the language. Okay, so those things are, quite well discussed in ELT, English Language Teaching Methodology. In cognitive linguistics, okay, this view support those points very well. Um, language meaning is encyclopedic, and the word or the expression that you teach are merely access points toward a very complicated network of other things that are connected to that word. There is a whole chapter in part 2 dedicated to this theme about language meaning being encyclopedic. And throughout this course, we have talked about this over and over about how language meaning can be dynamic, and it's not the kind of dictionary meaning that you often see. Later on in this lecture, we will see examples from George Lakoff. Number 5 in the list is about the conceptual metaphor that we also spend a significant amount of time on. Conceptual metaphor is now widely adopted in the practice of teaching idioms, collocation, language expressions. A lot of researches have been carried out, and they demonstrate that by helping students to aware of the conceptual metaphor mechanism, the student can remember the idiom that you teach more easily, and they can also in several situations explain why it's like this, why it's like that, and why they should use this idiom and not that idiom, this phrasal verb, not that phrasal verb. We will try very soon. Lastly, in recent years, you see in language teaching, intercultural language teaching has been considered important. And basically, in intercultural language teaching, we see language reality as something that can be interpreted differently in different cultures. A concept, a topic can be considered appropriate in these speech communities, but not really so in another context. You see, and this echoes the ideas of meaning construction and conceptualizations, one of the major themes of cognitive linguistics. And because meaning construction is active, it's a process of conceptualizing. This process can be different across different speech communities. Now, let's look at some of the concrete examples. What you now see on the slide comes from grammar practice 2. Did you do grammar in your curriculum? Yeah, there are 2 credits for grammar, right? And I'm not sure that you still remember. Okay, this is from Unit 10 when you work on phrasal verbs. Now, okay, from that lesson, you see, with feeling, okay, in this example, our teacher was ill, so Mrs. Frost's feeling mean take someone place. Explain like this: take someone place in a parenthesis. Now, when you go to the other page, next page, about take, you learn take over, and it also means take over. I mean, take someone's place. Okay, take someone's place. This will lead students to believe that feeling in this case and take over in this case can be used interchangeably. They can be swapped. However, as native speakers are at very advanced levels, you know that it's not really so, because when you switch these two, there will be differences in notations, right? The message will be no longer the same. So when I say the teacher was ill, Mrs. Frost's feeling is appropriate when we are thinking about scheduling, about timetable. Feeling here around the image schemas of a container of empty space. Okay, in a classroom where the teacher is missing, somebody come in to fill in. Or on a schedule where the name is missing, then we put something in. So it's appropriate filling when we talk about scheduling, fill in the schedule. While in this case, over and up is about um, how ready, how willing a person is for a task. Our practical experience tells us that when somebody is standing up, raising up, that person is more willing, or is volunteering for the job or for the task. And when they try to hide themselves, try to look down, they don't want you to give them the task. So in this context, to take over, I mean volunteer. I'm very happy. I'm very willing. I volunteer to help you to do this. But if as you say, I feeling, it means I will replace your shift. I will take your part in the schedule. I mean, the mental picture is different, and the connotation is different when we swap these 2 phrasal verbs. And without a view from cognitive linguistics, it will be hard if we take traditional language view. Then they are the same, so they should be equal. They are not really so. Now, let's look at these idioms about ears, containing ears. How many idioms do your students need to learn? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And it's gonna take you a lot of time to explain 8 of these idioms to them. But if you see the conceptual metaphor that motivates the meanings of these idioms, things will be easier. So what do you say to your students? Now, on one hand, the source domain is the ear, but what is the target domain? What we are actually talking about? We are talking about attention. Yes, that's right. We are talking about attention. In all of the examples, you can see that we are talking about attention. So, ear represent attention. The ear stand for attention. And you see, if you guide your student that way, things just become easier. Now, this is another example. In previous talks, we learned that we usually conceptualize time as a moving object, and future is something ahead of us, past is something behind us, right? From that conceptualization, we can say things like what lies ahead, let's think ahead, looking forward to seeing them again. Put my watch forward, days back, look back. Okay, things like that. And last time, we also talked about how you can explain, like, people use the past tense to refer to the present time. Okay, it's about the present is near, while the past is far away from us. And when I say like, I wish I were rich, or I wish you would stop smoking, we try to be polite or formal. Because when we use the past form, the what we say, the social distance, the communication distance, is further. And when the social distance is further, you are in a formal text, right? So usually, if you turn to your close friend and say, "I wish you would stop talking," in that case, you are being ironic, okay? Because usually you just say, "Oh, please quiet," okay? Now, a lot of researchers, as you can see from the references on the slide, shows that language in social, political, and economic texts is very metaphorical. It's very common for people to use conceptual metaphor in the text, especially at your level, advanced level. So stock market is usually conceptualized as a beast, like the bear, the bull, okay, like the dragon, dinosaur, right? And business is a war, or can be a game, and money is water. So yeah, it's similar in a lot of speech communities in Vietnam. In Vietnamese, we also think like this, right? Money is, yeah, rót tiền, rửa tiền. Okay, yeah, exactly so. What else? Nắn dòng tiền. Okay. Đúng rồi, tiền vào gì như nước sông Đà, tiền ra như gà phế tin. Yeah, so yeah. So you see how you know how this can account for language similarities and language universals, because similar in our concept. Now, if you need to teach literature text from new business methods, this is a textbook for upper intermediate students. Now, Look at this reading text. How would you help your students to understand the gist or the main ideas? How would you do that? Coke versus Pepsi, Nike versus Reebok, Nintendo versus Sega. The battle is among the world's top brands. Aggressive comparative advertising has now reached fever pitch. Extra millions are pouring into R&D, research and development. Okay. And the market leaders are under constant pressure to slash their prices in a cutthroat struggle for market domination. So, what is the metaphor that motivates all of these, ideas? What? Yeah, exactly so. Business is a battle, or business is war. Now, if you can point that to your students, you see, it's much easier for them to understand the gist or the main ideas of the text. Now, this is another example. In traditional grammar, we see language as an autonomous system with clear, distinct boundaries between phonology, morphology, syntax. But look again at these cases when I say the picture is over the sofa, the picture is over the hole, the game is over, political power is handed over. If I ask you to translate this sentence into Vietnamese, probably you will not use the same Vietnamese equivalents, right? That means they are not the same. The problem is when you look this up in a traditional dictionaries, you will not be able to find those Vietnamese equivalents that you use in your translations. That means each of these over is different. And how would you explain for those differences? Now, George Lakoff, I will come back to this later. Now, George Lakoff make a list of a lot of possible cases with over. And he says all of these situations are different because the image schema that motivates these things that we say are actually different. Now, look at this. When I say the plane flew over, so you go very fast, past. I mean, it flew over a point. It can be the speaker. It can be our university. So we have a trajectory, a flying object going past the landmark very quickly. And in our mental picture, this is what we have. If I say the bird flew over the yard, you see, it's more slowly because that's what you learn, okay, about the difference between how the bird flies and the airplane fly very slowly. So you can see it fly from one end of the garden of the yard to the other end of the yard. Now, in this model, you also have a similar image, but the landmark is extended. So that's why it is abbreviated into extended and no contact between the trajectory and the landmark. So extended, no contact. When I say the plane flew over the hill, it's very similar to the model of the bird flying over the yard. But in this case, the hill is vertically elated. So now we have this model, and we should add one more element to our model: vertical, extended, and no contact. So that's a over model. Now, when I say the bird flew over the wall, we only have a vertical landmark. It's not extended over a big area, right? So the bird flew over the wall, vertical, no contact. When I say John walked over the bridge, I have contact between the trajectory and the landmark. And the bridge, in this case, is extended, it's long, and the trajectory moving slowly from one end to the other. When I say John walked over the hill, okay, in a similar model, okay, I have vertical extended landmark. And when I say Sam climbed over the wall, I have contact, okay, but it's vertical, extended, and contact. Now, with these models, okay, using the ideas from image schema, you see, we can visually explain the differences in meaning, okay, of the different over that we see in the list. Now, I think I have already answered these questions about, okay, the use of present time or past time. Okay, in the cases, we obviously you should use the present time. Hi, are you busy? I was hoping you were free for lunch. Why not using the present time in this case? Good morning. I wanted to ask you a question. Why do we use the past tense in these cases? Why? Because we need to be polite. We need to be formal. Now, so that's it. Just to sum up, what I need you to do now is to open your browser and look at what's available for your final essay. Now, so please type in cognitive linguistics for language teaching or in language teaching, and just very quickly look at what's available there, because this is the final part in your essay. Whether you are talking about conceptual metaphor, talking about metonymy, talking about image schema, talking about frame semantics, talking about ICMs, you need to come back to how it can, be useful for language teaching, for translation, for testing, or for a practical purpose. So, now, please take your time now to look at those things. Applying cognitive linguistics in language teaching or in second language learning. Alo. Vâng, tôi là Vũ ạ. Vâng. Okay, so that's okay for the homework. Okay. Search the articles that's relevant for the topic, and you will find a lot more examples, a lot more cases in which cognitive linguistics can help us to get a more satisfactory answers. Okay, in language teaching. Now, before I wrap up for the day, do you have any questions? So just a reminder, the outline, the deadline for submitting the outline is tomorrow. Okay. So if you haven't done so, please take a time to do it. And the well, if you are interested in looking at these articles, I can post the link to wb1.wine.net. Yep. Now, you can find the lectures notes, okay, my PowerPoint here at the bottom of cognitive grammar. Okay, and the last topic of the course, cognitive grammar, is already opened. So again, if you are interested in cognitive grammar, please go ahead. Now, while I am in Israel, I will try to have two more webinars, two more meetings, like Semantic Friends. So one will be about conceptual planning, and the other will be about cognitive semantics in context. And I will also try to refer to the quizzes to help you, better prepare for the computer tests. And when I come back, which is around 27 or 28 December, so it will be quite long, 4 weeks. We'll have the computer-based test here. All right. What date is it? 27 or 28? Oh, I think it will be in the last week of the course, 29. It will be on Tuesday. Okay. So be prepared for the test on that date. Still have time. Or you want to do it earlier? I can give it to you next week and ask somebody in our department to come here and supervise the test. I guess so. You need more time to read. Okay, so if you do not have any other questions or comments, then let's call it a day here. Good lunch and goodbye, and see you again online. Okay. What is for the what? For the computer-based test, I have already told you a ton of time. You only need to focus on the questions at the end of each chapter in your textbook. Okay, I will ask those questions again in a different format. Okay, for example, John walked across the bridge. Okay, which of the following image schema illustrates? Best illustrates. Okay, the sentence. Good choice. I want to say, my grading. Simply multiple choice. So, yeah, after the test, we'll score right away. Okay? Right. So, goodbye.